Ladies and gentlemen, my name is
Scott.
Hey, yo. Is that a Jungle product? It's gonna be
Jeff.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
And you're listening to
all of the great action figures from our good friends at Hasbro.
The Fullyposeable.
Have your own WrestleMania with all your favorite figures.
Wrestling Figure.
Each sold separately from LJN.
Podcast.
And we are the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Hey, welcome to episode 485 of the Fullyposeable Wrestling Figure Podcast, longest running episodic wrestling figure podcast going today. My name is Jeff. I'm the man of 1,004 ailments, and sitting alongside next to me is my real life brother, not storyline brother, Scott. Scott, say hello.
Hello.
Scott, again, the word this week is tariffs. And that's what we're going to be talking about on the show. We have Shawn Ng at the end of the show. We're halfway through the show, I should say. Shawn is on and he discusses a lot of the price changes that he had to go through to keep up with the tariffs that are going on. So the trade wars, I should say, and how it's affecting his company right now. So that's going to be... we're going to get through the news and then it'll be right on to Shawn. He'll be on to discuss that. So, Scott, what's going on, dude?
Well, more importantly, how are you feeling? Last week, your battery was about 22% when we finished the show. You were running on fumes. Are you feeling better this week?
No, the Avalanche lost against the Stars. So now, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm feeling much better.
1,005 ailments.
1,005, pissed off at my Avs for losing to the Stars. And they were up 2-0 in the third period. And then they blew that lead with 13 minutes left. But anyways.
Yeah, and who got all those goals too?
The guy they traded away, Ratnid.
Uh-huh. That is like the dagger in the back. Yeah. That is just, oh man, ouch.
At least it wasn't the Golden Knights. I said what I said.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Golden Showers.
Yeah, screw them. Sorry, I know Rucker. Shout out EJ and Rucker. Love those guys. But I know Rucker's a Golden Knights fan, so Golden Shower Knights, so... Anyways.
Sounds like a special at a strip club. Stop by at 7 p.m. for Golden Shower Nights.
I usually have to pay more for that.
Stay for the buffet.
But thank you for asking. I am doing much, much better. The flu did not knock me down as bad as it has in the past. I did not have the overheating, I guess you could say. So,
okay, good. I was going to say the Philly flu. It was not the Philly flu. Part two.
Dude, that Philly flu, man. And there was numerous people that got that Philly flu. It wasn't just me, man. A lot of people were coming back from that place sick. So
yeah, that was funky. That was funky.
That was funky Comadina, dude. Holy crap, dude.
Nice.
So anyways, but how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Just enjoying. It's getting a little bit warmer, which is cool. So we're getting into the late spring, early summer weather. So I'm digging that. But yeah, aside from that, just we're going to be talking tariffs. And I think one of the most interesting things about this show is you get to hear, as Jeff mentioned, Shawn Ng is going to be on for the interview portion of the show. He'll close us out. But one of the most interesting things is getting that tariff impact from somebody whose business is directly affected by it. You know, we're hearing stories, but you're going to get firsthand about how it's affected. And it's pretty eye-opening. I don't want to go into any details because you guys will hear that in the interview, but it's a great listen. I would highly advise, check it out. You get firsthand information from him on how much his business has been impacted by these tariffs. So it's super interesting. I mean, you're listening anyway. May as well listen another hour or so. Give Shawn a listen. Plus, you know, we talk wrestling figures. There's all sorts of good stuff with that too. But definitely what the impact of these tariffs can be and has been.
And will be coming up. So
yeah.
If you'd like to get any of our shirts, head on over to Pro Wrestling Tees or whatamaneuver.net. You can follow us on the Twitter X, YouTube, Snapchat, and the Book of Faces at Fullyposeable, Instagram Fullyposeable WF. You can go back and listen to our past podcasts on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes so it's in your device, ready to go every Sunday. And you can send us any audio questions, or anything else at all. Send on over to fullyposeablewfp at gmail.com. Scott, we have an omission. You said it was not an omission.
It's not an omission.
AAA did not fire Alberto Del Rio.
I had read that he did get fired, which I thought was hilarious because I'm like, WWE bought AAA just so they could fire Del Rio again. I had read that, but yeah, apparently he's back under a deal now, but it's only going to be with AAA. Right now, only supposed to be wrestling in Mexico, not coming up north for WWE, as far as I know. But I had read like right after they bought it that they fired him. But that could have been some site screwing around, making a joke, which I took it hook, line, and sinker if it was true or not true.
Clickbait type stuff.
Yeah, clickbait.
So yes, he was not fired. And the figures I was looking for, also the luchador figures from that were LJN style, they were more, if I'm not mistaken, they were more OSFTMs. The one I've seen, or the ones I have seen, I should say, were more OSFTM. They were the Killian figures.
Okay.
They were around mid 90s or so.
Okay.
But they had Rey Mysterio. But anyways, those were the figures I was looking for that were kind of LJN-esque figures.
Okay, gotcha.
Scott, have you picked up anything recently?
No, I am on a spending freeze. Self-imposed, still recovering from Vegas. And then you look at the bills and you do another Sanford and Son moment of hand to heart, other hand to sky, like, oh, Lord Jesus, what did I spend my money on? Yeah, so I'm on kind of a spending freeze. I did do the pre-orders last week. The JD McDonough and the Bailey, but yeah, it's going to be slim pickings. I have to get super select. And again, it goes back to price increases and, you know, where you're spending your money at. And we spent our money in Vegas, some of it wisely, some of it unwisely, most of it unwisely. Did I need a $200 Dudley autograph?
Are you happy with it?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Okay, then yes, you did.
Yeah, okay. I guess I needed it. Spent way too much, so self-imposed spending freeze. Kind of a freeze. A freeze would imply that I'm not doing it at all. So it's the semi-freeze.
I was on BBTS today and they popped up the Tony the Tiger was for sale.
Yes, it's actually in stock.
In stock, ready to go.
Yeah.
And I ordered it.
Of course you did. I actually thought that you had pre-ordered it. And so I saw it move to their in-stock section of their website. And I was like, oh, good. Jeff got his Tony the Tiger. So you just waited for it to come in stock and then you bought it.
I guess I did. I kept eyeballing it, dude. I was just kind of eyeballing, leaving BBTS up. And I'd always check to see if it's in stock. And then when I saw it was in stock, did I want it? And then yes, I did. And anyways.
So are you going to, let's see, that's Tony the Tiger. So you're going to get the Count Chocula, the Smacks, Sugar Smacks Frog, if they come out with him,
I don't
think Rice Krispie guys.
I'm definitely getting the Flintstones, Bert and Barney.
Yeah, Bert and Ernie.
Not Bert and Ernie. What the hell?
Fred and Barney, dude.
Oh, Fred and Barney.
Bert.
Sorry, Bert.
You're making up Flintstones characters. Yeah, it's Buddy Bert.
I think that was the dinosaur's name that used to hang out in the shower and watch them shower.
That was Dino, dude.
Oh.
Bert might have been the little Martian guy.
Remember how they would have like animals that would be sitting around the facilities? Like there was the dinosaur that had the shower, or it was like it would spit out water. Didn't they do that? Like they had a store. Didn't they have like
I think.
Didn't they have like a stork on a toilet? And he was like, "You thought you had a crappy job," and then they play some funky music, 70s funky music.
Speaking of golden showers.
Oh, come on now.
Allegedly, we don't know for sure. Those Flintstones are into some freaky shit.
But anyways, I'm getting Fred and Barney from the Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa
Nice.
Pebbles. I'm definitely getting those. I think I'm gonna get the Halloween special ones. Count Chocula.
Oh yeah. So Count Chocula, you know they do Frankenberry.
I think I'm gonna jump in on those. So
you're gonna get all the cereal ones. Like if I know anything about you, like younger Jeff was a cereal freak.
Yeah, but there's some characters that I didn't gravitate to, like obviously Tony the Tiger, the frog, Smacks Frog, nothing.
No,
maybe the Cheerios Bee, if they make that. I don't know how they would dress that up to make it worth $27, but
what was the one that had the bear? There was a bear.
That was a golden
honeycomb. Was it honeycomb?
Yeah. I think it was honeycomb. I think you're right.
Okay. Oh, and Toucan Sam. They're probably going to make a Toucan Sam.
Yeah. They were interchangeable beak.
Are they going to make a Mr. T?
Oh, dude, if they started going into those character
cereals,
Smurfs, WWF.
They make a Hogan and Warrior. Yeah.
That's one Mattel should do. WWF cereal and just make a Hogan and it has the cereal box. I mean, if if Jada's making these, cereals, why not, dude? I mean,
lean into it.
Exactly.
Talk about the retro feel for that old WWF cereal box, and you have a figure inside of it. Oh, that would be, obviously it would be the gatefold with a piece of Velcro, and you got your figure or figures inside if they wanted to do a couple. But yeah, that would be so awesome if they did that.
Speaking of Vegas, dude, I did want to bring this up. So prior to Vegas, Scott was talking a lot about these turnbuckle pads. And we were hoping that quite a few wrestlers would have these turnbuckle pads. They did not. I kind of wanted to follow up on this. The only ones that had it was Victoria, and the Rock and Roll Express had the ones that we had from last year.
Oh, same ones, their anniversary ones?
Exactly.
Okay.
But Victoria was the only other one that had the turnbuckle pads. Now, the the WrestleCon Superstore did have some turnbuckle pads in there. A lot of them were already pre-signed. Some of them weren't. But the ones that they had were just kind of meh. They were just okay.
And they were like the oversized ones.
Yeah, and I don't mind the oversized ones. I do like how the miniature ones fit better on the wall.
Yes.
But the oversized ones aren't bad. They had a Young Bucks one. But anyways, I wanted to go back to the turnbuckle pads because I would love to have, and I don't know how they do on sales. Like when people walk up to the Rock and Roll Express table, how many people buy those turnbuckle pads? Obviously, Scott and I did. We've raved about them. We love them. Powers of Pain, same thing. We walked up to their table and purchased those turnbuckle pads.
Yeah.
But my question is how many of these wrestlers move a lot of these turnbuckle pads? I think these are a great gimmick idea. They look fantastic, as we've talked about numerous times. Scott has them up on his wall. But do they move? That's my question. And maybe that's why a lot of wrestlers don't have them on their table.
Possibly. But like you said, they look great. I love the printed image on the front. Getting a signature on there, it really pops off of it, like especially when you use a white marker. I think they look fantastic. Great display piece. But I guess they didn't catch on because these have been around. You got me the Slaughter one like 2 or 3 years ago.
In Dallas.
Yeah, and they don't seem to have caught on. I thought it was great when we were in LA because the Powers of Pain had them. I'm like, oh, this is becoming a thing. This is awesome. And then we saw the Rock and Roll Express had them. But like you said, this year at WrestleCon, literally 2 tables out of all of the guests that were there had them. And I mean, I'd love to have like Demolition, the Steiners, the Dudleys, like, I'm going to start building a collection of these. They haven't caught on, but they look great. I love them.
And at the WrestleCon Superstore, they looked great. The ones that were signed and were not signed because they had the wrestlers kind of like gimmick or whatever their logo would be. Like think back to think back to the old 80s Saturday Night's Main Event, the logos that would come up as Junkyard Dog was taking on Jake Roberts, and it would be the dog in one graphic and then the snake in the other. Yeah. I don't know. They look fantastic, but I'm thinking that they didn't catch on, and maybe that's why we didn't see as many.
Yeah, I really think they're going to start thinning out even more. Like you won't even see them at any tables next year, and that sucks. I really, really like them. They make great displays, but just one of those things that didn't catch.
That was one of those things that I was thinking about, just kind of doing the WrestleCon and whole Vegas trip over in my head. I was like, there weren't that many turnbuckle pads. Victoria was the only one that had a turnbuckle pad outside of the Rock and Roll Express, and those were the only ones that we saw that were in WrestleCon as far as people having them at their table.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We were looking for them too, but yeah, just no sign of them.
Yeah. I knew they weren't going to, but a part of me was hoping that the Young Stallions would have one.
Still holding out hope.
You mentioned that, and I was like, God, that would be so badass if they did. Like, just picture those promo pictures of them too, back in the day and them on a turnbuckle pad and getting it signed.
Heck yeah, that would be awesome. But I'm still holding out hope somebody makes the Young Stallions. Either in the big rubber guys, in retro form, just one of those teams that hasn't really been represented. Like Paul Roma has been represented in figure form, but Jim Powers never, to the best of my knowledge. The Young Stallions as a team, never. So I would love to see individual releases of big rubber guys. I think that would be great. Very LJN era, or even retro form, because they did run into like 1989. So, you could put them in retro form and they could kind of be Hasbro era. It's right kind of at the cutoff there, but would love to see the Young Stallions represented in figure form.
Yep. All right, Scott, let's get into some pre-orders. Big Rubber Guys. The Road Warriors are still available at Big Bad Toy Store. Cardona and Myers, they are still available at collectmajor.com, as well as Ric Flair with the big gold. Major Bendies, I want to keep pushing this one because I think this is cool. Daniel Fishel, aka Topanga, from Boy Meets World back in the 90s. She's going to have a Major Bendy that's at collectmajor.com. Daniel Fishelhausen. She has the Danhausen face paint. And for the month of May, for the Big Rubber Guys, Rambo and Kurt Sloan, aka Jean-Claude Van Damme from Kickboxer.
So 80s. I dig it.
Yes.
I dig it. Just something different. Just something different for people to, if that's what they're into, go pick them up. And they're awesome, dude. I mean, just for the uniqueness of them. I dig it.
Also available pre-order on BBTS Boss Fight Studio, Dragon Lee, Roosh, and Drillistico. Those are available.
Badass figures.
Excellent looking figures. Zombie, we'll get into him more in the news, but check out his figures at Pro Wrestling Tees and zombiesailor.com. See what's available. Fig Collections, check out their retros at shop.figurecollections.com. And of course, KWK, shop kwk.com. Also, JJ Figures, also the Asylum.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, Shawn will go over the gamut of places you can pre-order his figures. And what is the pre-order for this month of May? It is Ox Baker. Excellent looking figure. Check KWK brand on Instagram and you can find where you can get his pre-orders. So this month it's Ox Baker.
Yeah, wait till you hear who's next month.
Exactly. I think that's going to draw some eyes.
Oh, there's no doubt. So get Ox Baker now and then just wait until you see who's next month.
Yep. I'll give you a hint. Husks up. Side notes, going back to the hockey talk, the Utah Mammoths.
The Mammoth, yeah.
I kind of dig that.
I don't mind it. And it's funny because Eddie Van Halen's kid, Wolfgang, just dropped the WVH from his band's name and is now known as just Mammoth. So he changed the name of his band the same week that Utah announced the name of their hockey team. And it's the same thing.
Well, did you hear what their slogan is?
No.
Tusks up. So the Texas Longhorns, they do horns up, which is basically the metal sign.
Okay.
But the Utah Mammoths is tusks up. That's clever. I dig that.
I like it. I dig it.
I do too.
Yeah. I like the logo too. I think it's kind of different, kind of cool.
Yep. All right, Zombie. We just mentioned him. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees for the pre-order of Owen Hart. Owen Hart will have the pink and black singlet and the pink sunglasses that Brett used to wear. Removable as well. Thank you, Scott. And those are at prowrestlingtees.com that you can pre-order that. Zombie worked with Martha Hart to get the license for this Owen Hart. This is available for pre-order over at Pro Wrestling Tees.
2 weeks only from what I understand. So if you want it, jump on it now, $40. And you said it best, Jeff, earlier. This is the Owen that we all wanted in the Hasbro line. And we got stuck with the high energy Owen, or the new foundation Owen, if you will. So this is the one that we all wanted as kids to go right next to Brett, then to feud with Brett. And now that we are able to get cages for our Hasbro rings, you can totally recreate that SummerSlam matchup right here with this Owen versus that Hasbro Brett. It's a cool figure. I dig it, and it's only a 2-week pre-order. It's only $40. So highly recommended. This one's awesome. Again, Pro Wrestling Tees.
Nerd's Closet, Scott, not Nerd's Clothing, not
or
Nerd's Wallet. Not or Revenge of the Nerds.
It's not Revenge of the Nerds.
Or Nerds Candy.
What about Revenge of the Nerds 3?
No.
It's not that either.
Was that even good?
I think so. Was it good?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Anything after 1 was not good.
I don't remember 2 and 3, dude.
No, they're like, hey, how many shitty sequels can we squeeze out of this one? And I think they managed 2.
Which is funny because there was a Major League 3 that a lot of people don't remember. But fun fact, Walter Goggins was in Major League 3.
Really? In Major League 3?
He was downtown. He was the kid that got called up and thought his shit didn't stink, and then he got sent back down. That was Walter Goggins, who is famous for playing Baby Billy in Righteous Gemstones.
Yes, and I want you guys to know too, all proceeds that we get from our shirts this month are going to go towards Baby Billy's fund of making Teenjus.
Yeah, we need to make this happen. We need Teenjus.
We're going to try to finish it.
Come on now, nerds.
Buy a shirt for Baby Billy. We need Teenjus in our lives.
It was so ridiculous. It was great.
Come on now, nerds.
Come on now, nerds. Or when he was talking to the German lady and he's all, go get you a swatch or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you wear over there? You get your swatch.
Oh, man, I had side pains after that line.
Oh, God, he was so good. The last few episodes, he just took it up to a whole new level. So anyway.
He really did. R.I.P. Righteous Gemstones. You will be missed.
Very much so. Anyways, back to Nerd's Closet. Paul Ellering is going to be made, and he will be going with the Road Warriors. And Scott, how dare you? You text me back and said he needs to come with Rocco. Get that trash out of here.
Well, if you want to be accurate,
I don't want to be
come with Rocco.
No, I don't care about accuracy if it involves Rocco.
He's holding the newspaper. He should be holding Rocco, because Legion of Doom, when Paul Ellering came in to the WWF, he had that damn puppet with him. So if you want to be accurate, he should be holding Rocco. Just saying. Look, Mattel did Rocco.
Right. Yeah.
Nerd's Wallet. Sorry, Nerd's Closet.
Nerd's God damn it.
Revenge of the Nerds 1 can
Nerd's
do...
Candy. Nerd's Candy.
Nerd's Ropes. They can do Rocco as well. A little tiny Rocco to be adorable. Come on.
No.
All right. Yeah, you're right. No, screw it. It is cool, though. He's black suit, red shirt. It's going to fit right in between your Legion of Doom. Game time decision for me. I've already got the Mattel Ellering, so I've got that one dedicated Detolf shelf for the Road Warriors / Legion of Doom. It already has one Paul Ellering. I don't know if I need two in there, but game time decision.
And if you guys want to turn this off and don't want to hear about tariffs anymore, more power to you. But Scott and I are going to give some takes after this. We promise that this won't get political. It'll touch the edges of it. It'll edge you a little bit. But but we're not going to get political. Our concern right now is with the toy industry. So, and we'll get into that in a sec. So this article comes in from CNN. It says Mattel CEO confirms plans to raise prices as he calls for zero tariffs on toys. Last week, Donald Trump advised Americans that his trade war could result in children's dolls costing, quote unquote, a couple of bucks more, end quote. That at least seems to have come to fruition. Mattel, the toy manufacturing giant maker of Barbie, plans to raise prices on American toys due to tariffs, it said Monday in its earnings report. Mattel said that tariffs hadn't affected its earnings for the first 3 months of the year. To mitigate future losses, it plans to diversify its supply chain outside of China and, quote, where necessary, taking prices action in its U.S. business, end quote. That's Wall Street speak for higher prices. A prolonged trade war means that for many American families, an extensive Barbie or Polly Pocket collection could soon be a luxury. Trump's 145% tariffs on most goods coming from China are slamming the toy industry. Nearly 80% of all toys sold in the United States are manufactured in China, according to the industry group, the Toy Association. Mattel CFO Anthony DeSilvestro
nailed it.
Destro. Anthony Destro.
Anthony Destro. He's evil.
Said during its earnings call on Monday that the current tariffs would cost it roughly $270 million this year. And quote, that's before you consider any of the mitigating action, end quote. There's already evidence some prices are on the rise, according to product pricing analysis from Telsey Advisory Group. A Barbie doll with swimsuit sold at Target rose 42.9% over a week in mid-April to $14.99. That's among the largest jumps the consumer research firm tracked. Chief Executive Ynon Kreiz told investors Monday that under the current scenarios we are considering, in response to tariffs, he expects 40% to 50% of its products to remain priced at $20 or less. However, he also advocated for zero tariffs on toys and games around the world. Zero tariffs for toys gives the greatest number of children and families access to play, he said. Mattel sources products from 7 different countries. Kreis said in February he expects China to represent less than 40% of global production for its toys in 2025, half the number of the industry average. He also plans to slash U.S. imports from China to less than 15% in 2026 and less than 10% by 2027. On Monday, Kreis said it will be relocating production of 500 toys from China to other countries, and that goes back to wrestling figures being made in Vietnam.
Right.
However, that production will not shift to the United States. Kreis told CNBC Tuesday that even if tariffs on toys remain, it would still be cheaper to manufacture toys outside of America. We believe production in other countries where we can be efficient and more productive is best balanced between manufacturing outside of the U.S. and continue to develop product in terms of design and creativity in America, Kreis said. Mattel also joins the laundry list of companies that has paused their full year 2025 guidance because it's said it's hard to predict consumer spending, particularly in the lucrative holiday season. It's a big deal when companies pull their guidance, experts previously told CNN, because it raises significant uncertainty, something investors and analysis all run away from. So that is the latest regarding Mattel regarding toys. Super 7 is up in their charges on tariffs. Yep. Other companies are doing the same. And this is our concern. Like, how many of these toys can make it to the end, can make it to this, whatever happens in the end? How many toy companies can make it? Can Super 7 make it? Can some of these third-party wrestling figure companies, can they make it? This is our concern, is how many of these toy manufacturers can make it to the end until this resolves itself. On top of that, how many of us can stay in the game? That's another question that we have. How many other people can stay in this game of dealing with, quote, these uncertain times? How many times did we hear that during COVID, right?
Right.
But how many of us can stay in the game? How many of us can just go, I can't do this anymore. This is the final straw. I cannot keep up anymore. I have grocery bills that are prices of groceries are going up again. You know, how many of us can actually hang in this game? We'll find out. That's our concern, is can companies survive and can we make it to the end? And Scott kind of alluded to this a couple shows ago, that we're going to find all this out in about 6 months.
Yes, exactly.
Hang in there, guys, if you can. If you message us on Instagram or Twitter and you say, guys, I'm out, I cannot do this anymore, the prices are going to get outrageous here, I get it. There's too much going on right now as far as price hikes and everything else. And this just isn't for a couple of downloads for our show. This is actually concerns from us to you guys, to everything going on right now. So anyways, sorry. That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're concerned. A lot of people are concerned. And we know, and we've kind of prefaced all of these conversations with this, we know there are bigger issues with these tariffs than just our toys, our collections, right? Like, we're all going to be facing empty shelves here pretty soon because these ships coming in with these containers are like half full, maybe. So there's going to be way bigger issues than our toy collections. And we get that. But for the basis of this show, the thing we talk about, wrestling figures, how do these tariffs affect us as collectors? And yeah, you kind of said it all, Jeff. There's not much more to cover, but I would kind of add to that. Are these companies, like you mentioned, Super 7 specifically, are they able to shift production to another country like Mattel is doing? Do they have the means to do that? Can they move their operation somewhere else to alleviate the tariff charge cost effect on their business? We don't know. Like you said, all of this is going to kind of shake out in the next 6 months, 9 months to a year. We'll see what kind of like the long-term effects are. I don't know. Are there even going to be toys to buy on the shelves come Christmas time? Are there going to be toys on the shelves in 3 or 4 months? We don't know. And if there are, what are they going to cost us? Are we running into another issue here where we always used to bitch about supply back in like 2017, 2018, 2019, where we could never find figures on the shelves? Well, now we're facing that again, but for a different cause. So it is very concerning. Like you mentioned, all of these independent toy manufacturers, like you just mentioned in the pre-orders, Zombie, Nerd's Closet, KWK, all the Epic, Hastel, all these manufacturers, can they stay in the game given the new conditions? We don't know. We hope that they can, because obviously we don't want to see anybody go by the wayside. The more the merrier. Keep putting out figures. Give us all these names that we've been wanting. I just don't know if that's realistic. How many of us collectors are going to be able to stay in the game with rising costs? When you've got mouths to feed and you've got other responsibilities with your money. We don't have the answers. We just have speculation, and we'll be finding out with the rest of you guys. What are the long-term effects of what is being done right now? But again, it's all fluid, right? Tomorrow they could meet and everything goes back to kind of where it was. And all of this conversation, speculation, it's for nothing. Because again, this is all very fluid and it changes daily. And so we'll kind of wait and see. I don't know. I hope it comes to an agreement and things aren't going to be as bleak as they're being forecasted, because I don't want that shit. Nobody does. But who knows? Who knows? Like you said it best, Jeff. We'll know more. We'll have a little bit clearer picture in 6 months, hopefully.
I do want to highlight something that Big Bad Toy Store did. So I mentioned earlier, I was on their website earlier today, and I did check out the Dragon Lee from Boss Fight Studio, but they put something on there that they hadn't put on there before. It does have the pre-order button, estimated. I'm looking at it right now, estimated to arrive fourth quarter, 2025, $39.99 for the Dragon Lee. However, this was the first time I've ever seen this. There is a little highlighted red thing red wording that says excludes tariff surcharge. I had never seen that before. Now we're starting to see, and I hope more companies do this. They put the tariff surcharge on there, because we've already got, when you go to check out, you've got tax, you've got shipping. Mm-hmm. Now let's add the tariff surcharge. Let's add that, so you see where this is affecting us.
Yep, exactly.
So I hope more companies go in, more websites, and do what Big Bad Toy Store did, but be transparent regarding the glued's tariff surcharge. So be transparent about where these tariff surcharges are hitting us. So I'm definitely staying in the game, but I don't know to what extent now.
If you were selective before, you're going to be way more selective now.
Yeah, Tony the Tiger wasn't hit by tariff surcharge, so I put that one in a guy that. But now I'm concerned about what other stuff. So, do I eliminate elites altogether and just mainly focus on the superstars and ultimates?
Yeah.
Do I rule retros out altogether? I don't know, because like Scott said, you don't know what's going to be happening in 6 months. They could go to the table tomorrow and fix this. I don't know where my limit is going to be come those 6 months that Scott mentioned, or whenever this gets all settled.
Yep. And it's funny because we've been talking about budget and space a lot before all of these tariffs hit. And now it's like, man, space may not be an issue anymore. There may be a lot of people selling off their collections.
Yeah. All right. That's it. And to continue the tariff talk, we are going to pass this over to Shawn. Like that segue there, Scott?
That was well done. Yes.
Like Scott mentioned earlier, Shawn's going to be able to give us the deets regarding his company and the tariffs and how he had to combat it. We'll pass this over to Shawn in our interview right now. All right, and welcome back to the show, Shawn from KWK, Kayfabe Wrestling, the Kayfabe Wrestling Collector, I should say. Shawn, what's going on, man?
Tired. What's new, right? As I have said in the press release, a roller coaster ride. It really had been.
Okay, I take it you're referring to the tariffs that are going on?
Well, it's not just that. It's a whole bunch of stuff that, kind of came along with the tariffs.
Okay.
So you guys know me by now. I don't filter myself. And, I got told off by my team about it several times, even though I'm the boss, but they still kind of tell me off about it. They go, "Hey, you shouldn't be saying that," stuff.
But we love the transparency.
You're the Howard Stern of
retro figures.
Of retro.
No, I'm not. I just don't want to hold out stuff. I mean, the cat is finally out of the bag. We invested into the production line of the factory. Some people were like, nah, you weren't investing in the factory and stuff. We were, and we still are, which is why it kind of affected the whole thing as well. I've realized this. The bigger things you are making it, once shit hits the fan, it gives you more headaches.
Yeah.
So, that's exactly what it is. Now, I want to address this right now, that we are financially healthy there's no problem with that. So, I want to stress that, number one. Number two, I want to make sure that, we still on a smooth sail course. It's just that, we can no longer do it at the price that I wanted.
The $14.99?
Yeah, the $14, $15.99, that kind of deal. We can no longer do that because, we no longer, or at this point in time, we really don't have anything to offset our production cost.
Right.
Okay.
So, basically that's that. For those that didn't read the press release, the main thing was we invested in the production line last year. And the whole idea was to take in other businesses from other toy companies that the factory would bring in. And basically, whatever profits that they were making would be helping to offset our cost for the KWK lines. And then, the tariff announcement kicked in, and some of these stuff were even halfway through production. The factory owners started getting calls from some of these individuals, and they go, "Yeah, we have to cut that for now. Halt production, everything." So, it affected us. Does it affect us the big way? Not really. But does it affect the, what our initial plan for the line? Yes, it does. It affects the cost. It affects the prices on, the customers.
Well, that's one of the things that is our big concerns. And Scott and I talked about this earlier in the show. I'm concerned about the toy companies. And I know in the grand scheme of life, toys are maybe 1% to 2%, right? Of the global economy. But at the same time, for what we do, what we talk about, what you do, what you produce, I'm really concerned about the other companies, because now, as all of us are now starting to accept and have to figure out what we're going to do with the tariffs, our concern is for toy companies, how many people are going to have to cut back, as things start to go up in price. How many people can go in and purchase KWK? How many people can go in and purchase Super 7 or whatever my concern is for these toy companies, because this is our huge concerns right now, because this is what we love. This is what we grew up on. This is our childhood. This is our nostalgia.
And so many companies have jumped into the retro market now, and not just the retros.
Right.
I mean, they're doing other styles as well. Retros is the biggest of them. And that was our concern, is that we're going to see some of these start to fall. Of course, we don't want to see that, but that just seems to be a hard fact of these tariffs kicking in.
I think we're kind of lucky/unlucky in a sense, because of the investment we made last year. We're able to still be able to get into a relatively competitive pricing, with the exception of, exclusive from JJ figures. Our prices are still relatively low comparing to other companies.
For sure.
And I'm sure probably, after I say this, some people will bash me for it. But I just don't think other companies will have that much of a luxury, as in, in terms of the pricing. I also do see, after the announcement of tariffs, there are concerns. I think it goes back to something similar with the stock market as well. In our lines of business right now, we also have to look at exchange rate and the stock market. And I see there are concerns. Like basically every single time a certain announcement has made, it ruffles a lot of feathers.
Is toy collecting huge in China?
Not for wrestling.
Not for wrestling. Is there any concern among, let's just say, toy collectors in general? Is there any concerns regarding the tariffs out there? Or are we over here in America just hitting the panic button right away because we're seeing the cost prices go up from Mattel? We're about to see cost prices go up from Super 7. I'm just kind of wondering how everybody over there is taking the...
I can't say for other toy lines, but as far as wrestling is concerned, I think ever since Mattel has re-released a lot of the older figures, as far as the collector market has tanked. Because a lot of guys were like, I'm not buying another release again. And, I think a lot of the collectors in China, they kind of look at the collector value a lot more than the US.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
I think I kind of share that sort of sentiment is that, I don't want to buy a figure at a full price and then, next thing we'll drop.
Right.
Within 6 months or whatever. So, and that's where I think the main problem comes in for some of these toy companies. But, at the same time, I've realized this, once you are a toy maker, you kind of see the two sides of things as well. That, you want to make the most money. But at the same time, you're trying hard not tank the market.
You based your whole line on that, right? You've based your whole line on collectability. That's what kicked off the whole thing.
Right.
With the different variants and chases and whatnot.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's, because of the whole Tariff stuff, we kind of have to switch gears to make it a little bit more like in the beginning of the year, we were hoping to just go, okay, what, balls out, right? Forget about collectability, because everybody was doing collectability.
Yeah.
But, and then the tariffs kick in and go, okay, you know what? Why not try to find a happy medium, right? so, that's when you got the JJ exclusive Ox Baker, the purple card. The guys in JJ, man, I love them because what it is that, once I show them purple card, they go, hey, you know what goes with our logo? Let's do that. They're quick. They go, okay, you know what? It's just like, we kind of have a similar mindset when I talk to them and go, hey, you guys want to do that? You guys want to do that? They go, boom, let's do it.
Shawn, is your calendar for the rest of the year? We had touched on that earlier in the year. Is that still, you had mentioned smooth sailing.
Change.
That's still on target.
Change.
Okay. Perfect.
That doesn't change. I mean, I was just looking at the Mark has just finished one of the Bonacano prototypes, and he was showing me that. Boy, it looks so sweet.
Awesome.
Nice.
And is that going to be a premium format figure, or is that going to be one of your $22.99 figures?
Well, right now it's $28.99 now. Because,
it's $28.99.
Yeah, Oxbake. We had two price changes, right? The first one was when Barry first got up, it was $15.99.
Yes.
And then the first round of tariffs hit. So, it puts me back in the drawing board and, I roughly calculated everything. So, went with $22.99. Another round of tariffs hit. And that was before we were putting Ox Baker up. And, I wasn't planning on increasing any more prices for Barry because if I was doing that, that's just, people are going to get upset.
Yeah.
Because we already did one price change already. So,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I talked to distributors, let's go. Okay, screw this. I will take some hit. That's okay. That's why before we were putting up Ox Baker for pre-order, I had to sit down with factory for the whole day to iron things out. Because by that time it was already 145%. So,
oof.
Yeah, and that's the whole week. At least 3 days. So one day was talking to the factory about the cost and everything going in. How are we gonna be able to keep a consistent cost measure long term? That was the first thing. The second day was pretty much messaging all the distributors, letting them know about there will be price change again. And third day was pretty much just finalize everything.
So one of the things that, and this is just kind of forecasting for the future, I don't think we'll ever see prices ever again at the prices that we have now. For example, Elites are $22.99 at Target out here.
Right.
Personal opinion, even in the future, even if these tariffs even work themselves out and it never happens and we go back to what it was, do you think that we will ever see prices back to the way they were? Like, I could forecast for you, I could see for you, Shawn, specifically going, hey, the tariffs thing is just never is back to normal. Everything's back to 2023 prices or 2022 prices. Would you be willing?
The damage has already been done. Let's be honest. And people will most likely go, hey, the tariff is down now, so all the prices should be back down.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand was that when that first hit, the damage was already done.
That's what I was afraid you were going to say.
Yeah, the damage has already been done. And, if people think the prices are going to go back down again, I mean, I can't say for certain that I'll be able to do that. And I have promised people that I will look into that. If there's a room for that, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it goes back to, okay, how much damage was done to the company? How much damage was done to the factory?
You just mentioned how many losses you took too, financially.
I don't think people understand. I also have to pay some of the factory people costs as well. Their wages and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the deal when I invested into the production line. Now, I'm not the majority shareholder of that production line. The factory was. But still, there are still part of stuff that I pay for. It did affect across the board a lot of people. This particular factory, a couple of the other factories I've known, went out drinking afterwards, and all that. And there were a couple of factory owners sitting there. They all look like their dad just died. It's just basically, after a few drinks, they will all go. They were just all talking about how bad Trump was. Let's just put it this way.
I can imagine. Yeah, directing their anger for sure.
God, yeah. But to me, I look at it like this: whatever happens, and I have learned throughout the years that's just what we have to do. We just have to adapt to the environment. I think the biggest stress is that the changes were happening so fast, so quick, so rapid.
Yeah.
That I don't even think I had time to breathe.
So if he's not done, right? Mm-hmm. If he goes round 3 on the tariffs, round 4, is your $28.99 price point enough of a cushion to where you won't have to bump prices again? I mean, I know it's all relative to if there are increased tariffs again in a 3rd and a 4th round, hypothetically, but did you give yourself enough of a cushion, give yourself enough of a number there to recoup some of your losses that you mentioned? Do you think you're going to hold that price point for the time being for, say, the remainder of the summer?
So here's the thing. I don't know how close you guys follow the news, okay? Whether it's China side or the U.S. side, I kind of have to. It's just, part of the job. I highly, highly doubt it will go any further than what we have right now.
Okay, so you think we're at the end point? We've kind of hit rock bottom.
We are at. I'm pretty sure we're at the end point.
Okay.
Right now is, and I'm sure. I don't want to talk about politics, but that's just it's so closely aligned to the business.
It blends in. Yeah.
Yeah, it blends in. Okay. The way I look at it is that how U.S. will approach China for this whole thing. I think the message from the China side was very, very clear. You want to go to a negotiation table, then give us the respect.
Mm-hmm.
And, and somehow I think U.S. is saying the same thing as well, and go, Trump was saying that the U.S. wasn't respected in terms of the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's the matter of how they can go into the negotiation table, but knowing how China works, once you break that trust, it takes time to rebuild.
Yeah, it's like throwing a humongous rock into the lake, right? And you watch the ripples go out. This is going to go for a while.
Well, I didn't want to derail our conversation because usually we have great conversations, the most beautiful conversations.
We always do.
I
Wait,
know,
who invited that guy?
We always do.
but the most beautiful conversations.
Oh, now suddenly I got it. Sorry.
No, I'm
I
joking.
was slow this morning.
No, but I didn't want to go off on Tariffs, but I have a lot of concerns regarding toy companies because toys is what helped raise Scott and I guess you could say. Mom and Dad, are the
Right, me too.
Toys.
I mean, look at the back.
Look at my back. Well, not my back, but
got a lot
me.
of people through the pandemic too, right? That whole boom of the nostalgia during the pandemic, toys got a lot of people through that as well. There's a lot of healing powers, and I'm, not one of those weirdos, but like people draw a lot of comfort from their toys.
Look at the Hasbro samples I end up getting, during the pandemic.
Right.
And it's like, I thought I was on cloud 9.
Before we get on to our next conversation, Shawn, you received about 2 years ago, you received a box that had a bunch of Hasbros in it. And in there,
last year.
Was it? Man,
time flies when you're having fun.
Right. But you received a box of Hasbros that you had to go in and I remember your bathtub just looking like dark.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I had to desensitize it for like 2 days afterwards because it was so bad.
Because when you put the Hasbros in there, the grime just came right to the top.
Yeah.
So, but in that box, there was the Steiner Brothers production samples. Was there refresh my memory? Is there a Brett?
No, it wasn't Brett. It was a Mr. Perfect.
That's right. Red card.
It was a Mr. Perfect test shot sample ish, that kind of stuff. There was a mock-up figure of Scott Steiner in the Mr. Perfect paintwork. First
That's
Mr.
right.
Perfect paintwork. Also a nails and a Repo Man sample as well.
That's right.
Or test shot, that kind of stuff. So
was this a person that used to work at the Hasbro factory or something that you got this from?
No. It wasn't even that. It was the original guy who found this from a warehouse. I end up knowing the guy very well. I'm working on something because we became such good friends. He was the one that introduced me to the factory now. So, and he would go around and, he's one of those guys that go around looking for warehouses, get old stocks. That's just him. So apparently he told me that he has a whole bunch of Hasbros that he kept and he did not sell them.
Oh.
So, it started becoming this sort of like who's got the biggest balls, this kind of stuff, I found this, you found that, all that kind of stuff. So, I started showing him a couple of pictures of the unreleased Hasbros. And he was like, yeah, I know I have that in there. So that's when I go, okay, so when am I getting those? So he was like, well, they're at my other home, all that kind of stuff. And I go, yeah, you better get me those. Yeah, we become that close, and you better get me those. He was like, so I go, whenever you're home, you better get me those because I just called him the other day because there were a couple of other stuff. He is looking to open up a kind of like Temu store and stuff like that, and he was asking me if I was willing to have some of the KWK stocks and put into his store. And I think, yeah, do it. Why not? So something that we are working with right now as well. There are a whole bunch of stuff that I'm kind of working behind the scene. Even my wife is working some stuff right now.
Oh wow!
That are completely have nothing to do with the Western market, but under the brand. So, and I'm sure you guys have seen of other toy companies as well, that there are less reliance on the wrestling lines. Like, there are other IPs that go along with it, but, what we may end up doing is something that is completely different to wrestling itself or even the market itself.
Meaning you're pivoting away from wrestling, or it's going to be something different in the wrestling?
We still have, obviously KVP Heroes that started, it's my pet project. I'm not going to leave that. But what also is that, to create another revenue stream. Because at the end, remember, the company is called It's called KWK brand, and it's not a toy company. I manage wrestlers, bookings and all that kind of stuff. We do all these other stuff outside the figures as well. But this just so happens that the figure lines are my pet project.
You're starting a promotion, aren't you?
No, it's just that. That's what. Well, I don't know. I can't say for certain, but it's something that I've been looking at.
I heard your first signing is a guy named Hogan Hulk. Balea Terry.
Yeah, maybe I should sign Rosie O'Donnell to go against Trump. How about that?
Hey, we're all about money here, bro. We need Xi Jinping against Trump. Let's go. This is all about money, bro.
You sound like Vince Russo.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, dude.
Oh, you nailed it. Well done.
Controversy creates cash. Now that's Eric Bischoff. Sorry.
That's Bischoff, yeah.
Anyways, Scott kind of mentioned the premium line earlier.
Yeah.
What are those prices going to be when the time comes that you do put a figure into the premium line? And premium line is extra accessories, just extra stuff like that. But what's kind of the early talk of the cost of what the premium line's going to be?
I want to say this. I don't want to put a price on certain ones.
Okay.
I know about Berserker. Now, if my mind serves me correct, I think Berserker is going to be at $30.99 for the regular ones, because there's going to be an exclusive for J&J.
Okay.
So there are still 3 variants. I want to keep the regular ones into 2 from now on.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do make a variant, then, it will be some form of exclusive.
That's fair. Because I really enjoyed the earlier figures that you came out with. I mean, that Mantar figure I'll put up there with any retro out there.
For sure.
Well, speaking of earlier figures, we got the Max Moon samples right in front of us. I think we did better than the first batch.
I agree, because we were talking about it before we jumped on. The different shade of blue on that Max Moon, compared to the first one, it looks excellent. It looks really good. Yeah, there you go.
This is a much lower price figure.
Yeah.
And we are still able to do it at a quality like we do. It's insane.
Much agreed.
And people, they were thinking that the quality was going to go down. And I mean, let's be honest. You guys know I'm not going to hide that. There were people talking about how the La Resistance was perhaps the worst figures that that the brand has ever put out.
I disagree. I saw them. I thought they looked fantastic. And I'll tell you this, Shawn, thank you very much for the La Resistance figures that you donated for the meetup. James Frank, who won the samples, was over the moon. He couldn't take his eyes off of him when he won them. He absolutely loved them. And the guys that won the 2-packs or the single figures, the sets, absolutely loved them. They loved the addition of the flags. They loved La Resistance. So I highly disagree with that.
There were people that said it. And when I heard about that, or when I read some of the comments about that, I do have to say, I was kind of down for 2 days. But it also made me rethink and what can I do to make it better? Okay.
Well, I mean, look, you're the most honest one that we have on the show, right? We've made that clear. You are the Howard Stern of the retros. What is your opinion of La Resistance?
I enjoyed it. It was perhaps the most frustrating figure for us to make.
Okay.
I don't mind saying that. It was the most frustrated because of how much people wanted to change from our initial sculpt. So when you change the entire initial sculpt, all the decals, all the paintwork and stuff like that had completely
Who wanted to change? You talking about the talent?
No, the collectors. The collectors wanted to change from the initial prototypes, how the look of the figures, because some of them were talking about they look too much Rambo, and I think we had to do 9 or was it 8 changes on them or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so and it was like, once we and people don't know this, once we got to the production sampling phase and we had already ordered the decals for the La Resistance logo and all that, we realized they didn't fit the new sculpts. It just didn't fit it.
Oh, they were set for the old sculpts?
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
so we and because initially both of them would have worked on one single one, and it didn't at the end. So
Oh no.
it cost us another $2,000 just to redo that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and people don't know this. One tiny change will affect the overall cost.
Well, it speaks to your love for the brand, right? That you've stuck with it, that you've gone to all these battles, that you've made these running changes, you've taken losses. I mean, we've talked about all that. It's just crazy to me. And I don't envy your position, Shawn. I could not do this. And I would imagine a lot of people listening have no interest in doing this. And I would imagine a lot of the people that jump on a keyboard and tell you that La Resistance is the worst job you've done wouldn't want to experience what you've gone through as an owner, as a figure producer. So, dude, my hat's off to you. I couldn't deal with that shit. Kudos to you. So we've talked about all of the tariffs and everything and the losses. Again, we're bringing that up again. Does this change your focus? I mean, we talked last time you were on about you were looking to get maybe more Hasbro specific era names into the line. And certain names that you had signed previously were kind of pushed out a little bit. Right. Is this kind of narrowing your focus even more into Hasbro era names? Or are you looking at, I mean, you had kind of alluded to something earlier where you're looking at maybe changing something up under the KWK brand. Are we going to get a different scale type of figure? Are we going to be looking at Hasbro specific names, maybe dipping into the LJN era a little bit? Is it narrowing your focus even more than previously?
Okay. I'm still looking at another potential line, action figure line, whether it will relate to wrestling or not. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Okay.
Initially, I wanted to have everything done by this month initially, but with everything that's going on, I really
it pushed your targets. That's understandable.
Yeah, so and it's still in my mind a lot, and I'm still talking to the team quite a bit about it. How we should approach it. Some suggest that I don't do it. Some were more gung ho about it than I am. It's just as far as the KVP Heroes line is concerned. I don't think that narrative has changed.
Okay.
Like from we have talked about the last time. I mean, we have talents that go all the way until the end of 2026.
Got it.
I mean, look at it this way. We got what? We got Dink. We got Ken Patera.
Mm-hmm.
We got Great Kabuki. We got Aja Kong. We have Alex Porto. We have Buddy Landell. We have PG-13.
And a lot of names that we talked about during San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Right.
Too Cold Scorpio.
Yeah.
Orient Express.
Scorpio as Flash Funk is going to be coming out at the end of the year. The reason why I still haven't decided on the price point yet is because of how much accessories we're going to be putting with that figure.
That's going to be a super premium figure, right? Soft goods jacket, the hat.
Right, exactly. I don't want to cut corners with that because, Charles and I go way back, and I don't want to disappoint him. The same thing, I don't want to disappoint Osbaker's daughter as well.
I hope that, Shawn, you can take a minute to kind of sit back and look at the work that you've done in terms of like your finished figures, your prototypes, everything that you've done up to this point, and say, okay, I think we've done a hell of a job because you have. I mean, take a minute to do a Barry Horowitz and give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, seriously, like, we appreciate the work that you and your team have done. You guys have put out some killer figures. I hope that you can kind of take a step back, look at what you've done, and appreciate it at the same time, because we definitely appreciate it as figure fans.
I mean, I haven't had a vacation for so long now. I don't believe going to see my parents is a vacation. That's a work in itself.
Enough said. Yes.
and that's pretty much the only time I have been somewhat away, and that was Chinese New Year. And I was still working, for those people that don't know. That's how I managed to sign all these distributors deals, all that kind of stuff around that time. So I was still working.
You've more than earned it, dude.
The other day, I think it was one of these guys in Philippines, and I go, I was putting on my Facebook, I need a vacation. I really do.
You might have had a few F-bombs in there too, Shawn.
Yeah, I know. 3.
I counted them.
And this particular guy that we are, discussing about possible deal in Philippines, you go, yeah, you can come to Philippines, next week or whatever, and get to relax. I said, no, that's work too.
You know damn well that's not a vacation. That's business.
That's work too.
Yeah.
Like, business trip is not a vacation. How can people not understand that?
Well, for the month of May, you can pre-order the Ox Baker at all the places that Shawn mentioned previously, and follow your social media on Instagram at KWK Brand. And you can also see all the places there where you can get the pre-orders in.
And also, don't forget Berserker next month.
Nice.
Ooh, baby. I'm looking forward to that.
Next month and Bunakano in July. We're going to talk more about that.
Love that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that because, I'm sure we'll discuss a lot more. I also need to think about preparing for SDCC as well. So, that's also another thing that I need to work on.
We'll be chatting behind the scenes for sure.
I'm thinking if I should get Paul Diamond back on again, because he probably needs to be on again.
Yeah, that's true, because Orient Express is coming up. So
right, exactly. So
that would be incredible.
Yeah. And I will see if I can get anyone from next year's lineup on as well.
Oh,
okay.
There's a teaser.
I think that will be interesting.
All right, we're here for it.
Yeah, we're going to be having some conversations, Shawn.
Sure, definitely.
Well, Shawn, we always appreciate you being on, and get some rest. I know that coffee you just drank is going to probably keep you up for a couple hours, but try and get some rest, man, wherever you can. Sneak it in.
Oh, I need that coffee. Yeah.
You're all ready for your next cup, and you just finished the first one. So
yeah, I know, man.
Shawn, we can't thank you enough for being on, and as Scott said, we'll be talking to you behind the scenes regarding SDCC coming up in July.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah. Fullyposeable. Let's go. Jeff and Scott, the Toon Brothers, busting out the ring, but we don't take it out the box. MOC. Happy toy hunting. We'll see you next week with the OGs of WFP. Fullyposeable, thank you all for listening. It ain't no storyline, real life siblings. So everybody go and do your toy spotting. #FigLife, adios from the Kings.